Today we will discuss about the input-output transaction matrix model. So, by explaining it, that the input-output transaction matrix is also known as Leontief matrix is a fundamental concept in input-output analysis in economics. It represents the interdependencies between the different sectors of an economy by showing how each sector's output contributes to the production of other sectors. So the input output, or also known as Leontief matrix, it's a simple input output analysis which represent that the how the different sectors of an economy is interdependent to each other to produce the output by the contribution of other sectors. So let's break down the structure of the input output transaction into step by step. So the step 1 is the taking the sectors. In the input output model, let me show you. This is the input output model or the chat where there is 3 rows and 4 columns, or just take these 3 columns and 3 rows. So the rows sectors are called the economic sectors or industries within an economy. Each row corresponds to a specific sector such as agriculture, manufacturing and services, and the columns are also the represent the economic sectors. Just like the rows, each column corresponds to a separate sector. The number of rows and columns are same, reflecting the fact that each sector's output contribute as an input of other sectors. So when we take the row of the input output model, it states that the how a sector, and maybe agriculture, manufacture or service, whatever the any sector is consuming how much quantity of input to produce a separate unit of output, and the rows are saying that how much quantity of output that they have produced and sold to each sector of other sectors. So coming to the entries, that the entries of the matrix represent that the amount of output from each sector that is required to produce one unit of output in another sector. Let me explain again, that the entries of the matrix represent that the amount of output from each sector that is required to produce one unit of output in another sector. Each entry A refers to I and J in the matrix indicates the quantity of output from sector I that is needed to produce one unit of output in the sector of J. So J is the output sector and I is the input sector. Or we take it, the row sector is the output sector and column sector is the input sector. By taking this example, let me explain you that if the agriculture want to produce 0.7 of output, so agriculture needs 0.4 of input from its own, then 0.3 of its manufacturing, and Services 0.1% is from zero services sector. Then if the manufacturing take the so entries are these are called entries. These entries of the matrix represent the amount of output from each sector that is required to produce one unit of output and another sector. Each entry Iij in the matrix indicates the quantity of output from sector I that is needed to produce one unit of output in sector J. Then step 4 is diagonal entries. The diagonal entries of the matrix represent the direct requirement of each sector's own output as input. In the other words, the diagonal entries shows how much of each sector's output is used as input by the same sector itself. Here the agriculture needs 0.4 of units to produce his output by its own. Then manufacturing sector taking 0.2 of units to produce his output and taking itself from your own. Services taking 0.3 units of own output to produce further output services. This is called diagonal entries. Then off diagonal entries. The off diagonal entries of the matrix represent that the indirect requirements of each sector's output as inputs in other sector. These entries indicates how much output from one sector is used as input in producing the output of another sector. Off diagonal means expecting the sector itself which other sectors it requires to produce its output and taking their outputs as inputs to produce its desired output. These are called off diagonal entries. But let me explain you through an example. That consider an economy with the three sectors, that is agriculture, manufacturing and services. The input output matrix might look like this. In this example, the entry 0.4 in the first row, this is here, and the first column means that the 0.4 units of agriculture's output are required to produce 1 unit of agriculture's output, supposed to be x1. Similarly, the entry of 0.2 here at the service sector and the first row and the third column means that 0.2 units of agriculture's output is required to produce 1 unit of services output. So, the input-output transaction matrix provides a comprehensive view of the connections of interdependencies among different sectors of an economy. It's a powerful tool for analyzing how changes in output or demand one sector can impact other sectors through the ripple of effects, inputs and outputs. So, I think you will be get all those things without any confusion.